think these are on. Okay, thank you, Jess. You were severely over time, and lunch is after this, so now we have to rush. So, well done. We'll figure it out. Please don't say anything insightful. There can't be questions afterwards. But yeah, super excited to talk to you guys. I think this is a really nice continuation from the last panel. Really getting a chance to talk about, and I think all three of your businesses do this in a very different and interesting way, but what the future sort of looks like of omnichannel. What is the merge between online and offline? Does it all start to look the same? Certain people are of the view that we're just going to call it commerce in 5 years and there's not going to be a distinction. So I think really interesting group to kind of unpack this. But you all maybe want to start and do quick intros and then I can kick it off. Wessel, if you want to go.
Yeah, good afternoon. Chief Executive of Commercial at Ackermans. So a lot of people ask, what is commercial? Yeah, so in Ackermans, it's cellular, financial services, and online, payments, VAS, and everything that's not baby grows and T-shirts, basically. That's me.
Awesome. Natalie?
So thank you very much for introducing me, allowing me to join the panel. So I'm Natalie Kelbrick, and I don't look like my picture. That was at the beginning of my journey at Shoprite. But me and my team, we look after all digital payments, both in store as well as online.
Awesome. And Dmitry?
Hi guys, I'm Dmitry, CIO and responsible for e-commerce and marketplace for Leroy Merlin, as we are not in Joburg and we are mostly present in Joburg for now and Pretoria. I'm going to say a few words about the company. Leroy Merlin is a French international home improvement brand, a direct competitor to Business Builders Warehouse. We are similar but way better. And of course, very soon we will be in Cape Town. Durban is the first stop, and then somewhere next year, beginning of 2027, we'll be in Cape Town. And it was me on the picture, always the same. It's easy.
Awesome, thank you so much. Natalie, I'll maybe start with you. I think Shoprite has had dramatic growth in the last 3-4 years, which is super impressive for an incredibly established and at-scale business. I think impossible not to talk about Checker60 in any sort of commerce, innovation sort of conversation. Just curious what the last few years have looked like for you guys, and then obviously you in particular, how important has payments been in sort of that growth, and I think a really nice blend of what in-person, digital, a physical experience looks like. What does the last few years look like for you?
So I think there's been a lot said about Shoprite Group. We recently our results came out, and obviously our COO and the head of innovation have been very open with the market. But if we look at 60/60 and specifically from a payments perspective, we've really looked at how payments serve the customer and been quite relentless in how, in the case where it doesn't, how we challenge that. We've had to pivot. We've learned some hard lessons, but it's always been about bringing credibility to the payments, so trusting that it's going to work, even when it doesn't work. How do I get my money back? It's very important to consumers, and them being able to choose how they get that money back and not pulling them into a funnel. And then also being very clear about the customer and that not all payment methods is for everyone. In the Shoprite Group, believe it or not, we have other e-commerce brands, not just 60/60, and it's different. You have to really marry the payment methods and who the customer is. Otherwise, it just becomes another menu and more friction to scroll through.
Awesome. Maybe just one follow-up immediately. What does that look like from your lens? When you think about payment methods, you're not just dealing with 60, and 60 can make their own decisions, but how do you think about making those decisions at a group level and what's good for Shoprite as a whole?
So often we like to just test and see the adoption. I think often we have hypotheses. We are beautifully surprised Sometimes we think those customers won't use it. They're not Apple Pay customers. Why? Why would we be doing that? And then we're so pleasantly surprised. And we use those learnings to really roll it out across the group. And sometimes we get it wrong. And we're quite relentless in saying, well, we tried it. It's not serving us. It's not serving our customer. And that's why we do what we do. So if it doesn't serve that, then there's not really any point. But we are willing to try and see and be pleasantly surprised.
Awesome. Wessel, maybe next one over to you. Maybe slightly reversed lens. You're looking at working within a larger group. Like, how have you seen, within the PEP group, how have you sort of seen how your customers have engaged from both an online and an in-person perspective? And like, do you ever have challenges like having to conform within a group structure? And are there anything that limits you from like your own brand perspective?
Yes, I didn't realize I'm going to get a group politic question, yeah.
That wasn't in the prep call.
Yeah, I mean, taking it back to pre-COVID, we didn't have much of an online strategy. I think COVID forced us into it. We serve customers from Ackermans in a 200 square meter store to Mall of Africa in a 3,000 square meter store. So we really do serve the broader South African market from a clothing perspective. And it's difficult to build something online, or we found it difficult to build something online that serves all those customers' needs. And similar to what Natalie said, where customers have really surprised us. And in helping on that transition, I think someone like Checkers, they've really made the market in a sense that they've forced, not I say forced, they've really made it easy for customers to start transacting online. A lot of our customers, you can still see cash-based, using very traditional payment methods. Lay-by, it's something that I'm sure many of the people in the room haven't used in many years or ever. But a massive payment type for us. So it's for us a bit of a journey on how do we educate the customer and take them to be comfortable also online.
Awesome. And then Dmitry, over to you. Leroy Merlin recently launched the first hardware app in South Africa, which at least to me was non-intuitive. I'm not handy, but if ever I do have to do anything handy, I want to go into the store, I want to see things, I want to pick things up. What has that been like for you? And what sort of drove the change there?
Look, developing the app, preparing the project, and living through the launch, of course it was an absolute nightmare. Honestly, it's not an easy thing. And as I always like to say to my team, we are web people, we are web platform people, platform company people. We are not extremely experienced with mobile apps, so it was a first experience. It was difficult, but here it is. It's available, and it's gaining momentum and popularity. And what surprised us is the actual uplift. We were planning of having at least 70% to 80% of cannibalization, if I can use the term, between the app and the website, and maybe between 20 and 30% of uplift from the app. We are seeing actually much more. The revenue itself is not as high as our expectations were, but the uptake from the customer side and the uplift that we're seeing is much higher than that. We're probably sitting above 50 or 60%. So the website is still performing, the web platform is performing as strongly as we expected it to perform, and the app is bringing that additional revenue on top. So customers are clearly excited, and they do want to buy hardware things around home on the app, surprisingly enough.
Awesome. Follow up on that, do you have an understanding of the mix of that customer? Are you acquiring new customers that are trying this for the very first time, or are your loyal customers swapping over as well?
Look, as we are a new brand, I think up to 75, maybe even 80% are new customers that are only experiencing our brand for the first time. And I think the uplift that we are experiencing is mostly due to the fact that when customers are at home, they most of the time are staring at their phones. They don't go and sit at a desktop or at a laptop at home we rarely do that. We mostly spend our evenings looking at our mobile devices. And this is where we were actually missing lots of customers, because most of our purchases would happen between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. when customers are at work, not doing work, but rather shopping. We make millions in that window between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then when
the Stitch team.
it's coming to you guys. But when they would come home, we would probably see only 20% of daily orders and revenue happen in the evening. Right now, I think we are catching a lot more of existing customers, and even more so of new customers who browse into the website for the first time, see the pop-up, shop more comfortably on our app, and then they switch to the app because they are on their phone.
Awesome. Natalie, I'll maybe point this next one to you, and then Wessel, I'd also love to hear the same thing. Obviously, in an omnichannel world, you're generating a lot of data, right? There's a lot of data online, there's a lot of data in person. I think it gives you a lot of really interesting insights onto your customer. Is there anything interesting that you guys are doing or you've seen being particularly effective in the last few years as you've started to generate more of this?
Data has been very much part of the Shoprite journey, not just consumer data, but obviously what is being consumed. If you look at the extra savings card, you can use that throughout our ecosystem, and that obviously generates a considerable amount of information. From a payments perspective, my colleague over there, Jonathan, absolutely loves anomalies, as he calls them, and we focus a lot in the payment space around shifts in the market, specifically around payments, identifying, like Alex said, those small bins that start failing. Usually on a Friday, because all the changes go in by Thursday, and we have fun times before the weekend. So, we're leveraging a lot of that from a payments perspective, also understanding how our customers are shopping and paying, moving from a 60/60 then into our in-store environment. And definitely with failures, we do see a future where we are being more pragmatic with our customers when there's payment failures. How do we make those journeys a lot easier, presenting alternatives to them and trying to just really get into that convergence space quicker than the traditional, my payment failed, insufficient funds, now I need to go log on to online banking and move money.
Awesome. Data in Pepco. Yes, we've got so much. So we run quite a few financial services programs with in-store credit, lay-bys, and we're quite big in sell. But I want to use an example over the last couple of years. So we sell the vast majority of prepaid handsets in the country. And you can pick up affordability concerns and needs for customers. So there's been other products in the world, in South America particularly, that looked after device rentals and device financing. So we said it's something we've got to bring to the customers. We took an MVP to the customers within 16 weeks. And we've signed up over 2.5 million customers. It's a product called Phonium, if anyone hasn't heard of it. And it's been a phenomenal uptake. It's significantly changed the market. And for me, the point is if you hone in on solving a specific customer need with the data that backs it, more likely than not, you can solve that problem. And we found taking an MVP or just something to the customers quickly, they'll quickly vote with their wallets if it works or not.
Awesome. This has been like one of my favorite and I think quite unsung stories. You guys always very casually throw around that you sell the most phones in South Africa, and I think it's very impressive. Like some interesting behavior that like we've chatted about before, and curious to hear how you think about it. My understanding is the vast majority of consumers, they're taking phones on credit, but they still come back to pay off the credit in store. Right? How much of that is because there's a lack of options? How much of that is consumer preference? How much of that do you try and drive and you try to push people towards digital methods? Because that was super non-obvious to me, but I'm fascinated.
So it's not something that we've taken a strategy to drive customers online or keep them in store. We've really just given the customers the choice. So it looks different on different products, but we can see customers enjoy coming to give a payment to someone and having acknowledgement that that payment has been taken. So that the one stat I like, especially in our further outlying stores, it's something like 70% of our customers know the cashiers by name. So there's a lot of personality to it. But we can also see that moving, and I think that talks to customer trust in the digital payments. And especially on the new products, you can see it slowly moving.
Awesome. Then, Dmitriy, maybe over to you. Like, as you start to blend these worlds a little bit more, and then thematically have to ask, like, are you starting to use new technologies like AI or anything like that to make the user journey more seamless between the two? Is it purely from an identification perspective, and you know who the online and the in-person user is? Is it from a payment perspective, or is there anything else that you guys have been doing?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of different things with data. I believe in algorithms personally. I don't believe in people sitting and digging that data and telling everybody magical stories about what they're doing with it. It's always a kind of a black box story, the data, and everybody's like, ooh, the data. I believe in feeding the data to the smart algorithms, and they, for example, a recommendations engine like Dynamic Yield from MasterCard that we're using. We feed a lot of customer data to that algorithm, to that engine, and it decides what products would be best to recommend to you, to any customer in this audience or anywhere, based on even on your card swipes that you made in store, for example, right? And based on your shopping history, based on your clicks, on your interests, to make sure that your journey on the platform and on the app is as personalized as possible. Then we feed a lot of data into the so-called AI Co-pilot that we launched with a French startup, where now you don't have to use the old school search bar and search based on keywords, but you can actually have a conversation with a chatbot and ask in a conversational way for, I don't know, I'm having a pool party or a braai next weekend. What would you suggest? What products should I get to make it as fun as possible? And the AI will reply. And the same applies to click and collect, which is becoming a more and more of an important service for us as we are expanding in the country and opening more stores. In France, for example, because we have so many stores, we are #1 brand there. Our e-commerce is 90% click and collect, believe it or not, right? Which is huge, and it's obviously important from cost perspective. It's much cheaper. We don't have to pay so much for delivery and so on. And in South Africa, we're going to be pushing more and more customers to shop with us in store. You find things online, you pay online, but you go and pick it up in store. And the experience will be blended first-party products and third-party products, because we're also a marketplace. We have about 600 sellers on our platform. So you will be able to do click and collect for first-party and third-party products at the same time at any one of our locations.
Awesome. I think it's a really nice point on being able to start journeys in one place and end them in another. I think that's increasingly becoming common, where you can look in person, and if you don't have your size, you don't have your color, you can check out online. Also, you can do an online checkout and pick it up in person. One of the things that I think we find is surprisingly overlooked is sort of all the hygiene around that and marrying these two worlds, and all the nitty-gritty payment stuff that people don't think about. How do you do refunds? Is it an online channel? Is it an in-person channel? That becomes complicated in and of itself. Returns becomes complicated. Do they pick it up at your home? Do you have to go in store? Maybe Natalie, I'll start with you. How have you guys navigated that? And obviously, this is specifically with your payments hat on.
Yeah, it's been incredibly complicated. Shoprite Group, you can imagine, payments is everything. We're multi-banked, we do spread the load across 3 banks actually. So when customers generally, if you're returning goods, if you bought it on 60/60, you're typically going back to a store. We can't afford to send the driver back to go and collect it from you. But when that comes in, usually it starts triggering some fraud rules from a settlement perspective. There's additional information that the banks start asking for. So we've been working tirelessly with the banks and with the schemes around those processes, and how do we stay true to what we need to ensure payments are always on, but also not introduce that friction or the inconvenience for the customer who's legitimately returning the good that was cracked or wasn't to their expectation. And our promise is to honor that return. So yeah, it makes it complicated, but we're in for the fight, and we believe that it's the right conversations because ultimately it needs to serve the customer.
Awesome. Dmitry, I'll maybe ask the same to you.
Yeah, I'm smiling because the topic of returns and refunds is a complete disaster.
Yes.
For all retailers in the country. Anyone related remotely to retail or e-commerce knows that. We have faced a lot of customer complaints when it comes to, getting the money back, and customers don't want to understand, and it's not their problem that our banking system just works in such a way that it takes up to 10 business days to get your money back. They tell you that you guys are fraud. You're using my money for the stock market to trade on JSE. We hear all kinds of things. And in order to mitigate all of that, we had no choice. We had to develop a refunds platform, which is it's based on one of the famous digital workflow automation tools, where customers actually can do refunds and returns self-service, so they service themselves. And our future partnership with Stitch, for example, will really help us improve the experience even further. We are currently with one of the old school partners. With new technology, it will be even better. But what we do now is we pre-authorize your payment. We don't charge you directly, just like they would do at a hotel or at a car rental place. Leroy Merlin will pre-authorize you, and we will only charge you at the latest possible stage that the banking system allows us, which is up to 7 days, between 5 and 7 days, depending on the bank. So that buffer period gives us enough time to understand if we are about to potentially mess up your order, and if we are, we automatically cancel the transaction, and the money comes back to you immediately because it's just a void of pre-authorization. So it's a very interesting way of kind of mitigating that 7 to 10 business day story. But again, that underlying technology can improve drastically in the future.
Thank you. Wessel, maybe I'm not picking on you because I think there's not enough online yet, but maybe on the panel, I would say, and given your audience, you guys do less online than the other two. I guess when you guys think about it strategically and at a group level, I'm doing too many group questions. When you think about it strategically, how much does potential downside factor in to when you're thinking about like omnichannel experience? If there's another COVID, there's load shedding, like moving people away from stores strategically, not just to give them choice, but just to like mitigate downside. Is that much of a factor for you guys, or are you mostly thinking about the experience?
So we...
That also wasn't in the prep
No, it wasn't. So we've had many group conversations on it, but we run a very, very federated model, so each company rows their own boat. The Ackermans view to date has been we can see customers aren't afraid to go to stores, and we can see customers that generally shop in line also shop in stores. So there is a nice synergy between the two. We've got our full range on store, and there'll be more coming. But for me, I don't see there being a risking needing to take the customers online. Yet the customers will go online when it suits them. Yet I think fashion's been one of the elements that's moved the slowest in South Africa. I wanted to actually ask, take Fred from why he thinks so, but customers like to feel what they're going to shop. They like to fit it, and I think over time there'll be a natural migration to online. It rightfully said we are very, very small online compared to our in-store. but you can see the customers in specifically the further outlying stores shopping the more fashionable products, yet, and being able to get that product at the same price for the customer that's sitting in the metro.
Follow up to what you just said. Have you seen a shift in people's comfort in doing more online stuff, maybe since COVID? And I would agree, South Africans generally have liked to be in person. I do like no retail e-com. I buy a t-shirt every 5 years and I buy one in every color and I go in person and I do it. I'm like a laggard. But have you seen any of that change come into play maybe post-COVID or even by demographic? Like, are you seeing younger audiences feel less of a need or does it look quite uniform?
It does actually look quite uniform. We initially thought it's going to be the more affluent customer that's purchasing online. It really isn't. And you can see the behavior is quite similar. You can see, I'm sure all of us have done it, and you've got the new T-shirt in your cart on Superbalist, and you're not sure if in my case, the large or the XL, so you buy both and you'll return the one that doesn't fit. And we see the same with customers that do that in a lay-by in store. So the behavior, I think, mirrors in store quite a lot. And you can see the customers from all demographics moving.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. I am going to take questions now because we are getting tight on lunch, and I'm getting messages on our WhatsApp here from the team saying we need to go. But I'll take some questions. I see one over there to start. If we have a mic. I can also do it.
Hi, my name is John Mark. I'm from Superbalist. And we have a button on the PDP that says Foot Finder. So click your Foot Finder button and you see some measurements. You can put in there buff here and not so buff here.
Send me a measuring tape in the next parcel, please.
It'll tell you Excel. Also, we're doing a lot of innovation in virtual try-ons. So currently looking forward to make up virtual try-on soon. And hopefully soon we'll do a physical try-on, full body, maybe. Who knows? Cheers.
Okay, can I be in your test sample there?
Advertising.
Any others? Sorry, I didn't have eyes. Grant. You get to go second, Grant. You're a Stitch team member. No, but it's not going to you, Grant.
Hi everyone, Adrian from MasterCard. So Dmitriy, actually this question is to you and experience from one of your stores. So I live in Joburg, shop regularly Leroy Merlin in Greenstone. So I'm inherently, I hate standing in queues, right? So I'm impatient. So standing in one of your queues and I notice a self-checkout option. Download the app, scan the items yourself, complete payment, and so now shifting that in-store to digital payments. What has the uptake been like of the self-service shift that you guys have seen?
Look, the overall concept of Leroy Merlin is for many years in Europe and across the world has been famously based on self-service. We want customers to be informed enough to make the decision on their own. We don't want them to be bothered by the staff or have a necessity to ask unnecessary questions when they already are educated by, we call it pedagogy in France, pedagogical kind of material, in-store signage and stuff like that. But coming back to the uptake on the app, we have released the self-checkout feature actually as a dedicated app many years ago. It was a standalone app. It was semi-shitty, not very well built. And nevertheless, customers used it. And when they transitioned into the new app, it stopped being a dedicated self-checkout app and became a big overall app where you can do many different things. And one of them is the self-checkout. And coming back to a question, the uptake is really, really great. We see many customers use the self-checkout on a daily basis. Maybe not as many as we would want to, but it also all goes back to the question of volume that Fred has mentioned. And it's probably the most important topic in South Africa for any business. Just we need more volume. Yeah, please.
Great, thank you.
Actually, follow up. Natalie, do you want to speak about your self-service checkout experience at Unique? And maybe
mic, Kiaan.
But it's not. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Sorry, I was saying, do you want to speak about your self-service checkout experience at Unique? It's one of the cooler experiences I've seen, and maybe adoption, but also what it is.
Yeah, so in our Unique stores, and those are our clothing line, we have self-checkout for customers. It's a cashless store. You can do refunds there, but we have an agent, a real person agent, that will help you. And it's really been an amazing journey. It was the first rollout of our new POS system was actually in those stores before we actually added the cashier version of it. So what you experience as a customer is exactly what our cashiers do without all the cash options. And it really is quite intuitive for the customers. We thought that the older generation would struggle. So initially we had people standing there trying to help customers navigate, and they didn't need any help, which was really interesting for us as a team. And yeah, it just spoke to the fact that, you know, if it's intuitive enough, anyone will really use it. We have perceptions and bias around our customers, but actually, when you put it in front of them, and if it makes sense, you said, Wessel, they'll vote with their wallet, and they have. We haven't reverted back on that decision, and it's actually been really, really interesting for us. And yeah, it's interesting to see how consumers shift, in a positive way, in a controlled way. You can't imagine that working in a multi-lane grocery aisle at month end, because nobody wants to wait long. But certainly in that environment, where you're taking your time to pick those clothes, absolutely it works.
Awesome. It is the coolest experience. You should try it. You drop your shirt in a basket, and it shows up, and you just have to tap to check out. Grant.
Thanks, Kiaan. And I got a mic. Wessel, I wanted to ask you a question, and maybe true to form, I want to double-click on what Kiaan mentioned a little bit earlier. Majority of payments at Ackermans are in person, and from an online perspective, there's growth and adoption strategies that you'd need to implement to essentially grow that. I'm curious to how you guys as Ackermans, and maybe largely as the Pepcore Group, thought about online and think about online, like in relation to maybe some assumptions around like the LSM of your customer base.
So I mean, my thought on it is that, especially in South Africa, it becomes more difficult to go online at the wider coverage of stores you have. So between in Ackermans, we've got 1,000 stores in SA, and Pep's got 2.5. And I think it also becomes more difficult the lower the average price of your item is. Our average price will be significantly lower than some of the at Woolies, for example. So automatically the customer, the economics of making it work becomes more difficult at scale. So if I have to sell a 500 Rand basket in Ackermans, do I want to sell it? Do I want to try push selling it online versus in store? Because at the profitability, I'm definitely giving up a couple of percentage points there. And as nice as I look at, my bonus is paid on profit. But for me, it is about giving the customer the choice and the ease, because you don't want to. You want to make it as easy as possible for the customer, and ultimately it must work for them. So we can see offering our VAS products online, for example. So Mr. Norton standing on the back of the stage he builds that stuff for me. But our customers, if you look at Phonia, we launched in store initially, and we sold the first 1 million in store. Very quickly. We launched a solid online application process and offering, and we're signing up a significant number of customers online. And if you look at that demographic, just to answer your question on LSM, the customers are smarter. They know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And if you solve a problem for them, then they'll use it. Our biggest issue has been integrating the different products and verticals into a single customer offering.
Awesome, thanks.
Are there any others? We'll maybe take one more.
It's working? Cool. Question for Dmitriy. There's always a very strong narrative in South Africa that we are unique. Obviously, we're extremely proud, and often around business conversations as well, extremely proud of South African founded companies. You're a Slavic man working for a French head office in South Africa. How detached do you think we are in terms of trends, adoption, innovation in South Africa to, let's say, more established regions like Europe?
Look, I honestly, as much as I love Europe, I wouldn't use it as an example. I would rather, I'm a Ukrainian American, so I would rather speak about my homeland, the United States, where the innovation is at its bleeding edge. We all know what's happening in the Bay Area, in New York, and other places. I think over the years the gap has been decreasing significantly. When I came to South Africa 9 years ago, I'm almost South African now. The gap was quite huge. The e-commerce adoption was only at its early stages. Some businesses tried doing some click and collect, and then coronavirus, we have mentioned it a few times here, it actually has created a huge tailwind, a huge acceleration, and a huge push towards e-commerce in South Africa. Us personally, we have multiplied by 20 our e-commerce operations during 2020 versus 2019. So it was a huge push, and since then, I think South Africa is very, very close to what's happening, at least theoretically. When it comes to physical implementation of different ideas and features, it still takes time. You still have a lot of legacy partners with legacy thinking that don't understand new models. But here we just had a Take a Look Group CEO speaking about MCP and agentic AI. I mean, come on, it's amazing. You don't hear that every day in any country. And the fact that one of the South African CEOs is speaking about technologies that are the current buzz, are on bleeding edge, and everybody on X and everywhere else is speaking about these things, and we have a CEO from South Africa speaking about it at the same time, it's a huge proof that we are on a good track.
That's a very nice note to end it on. Thank you so much. I think we'll call it there. Thank you so much.